Western flag is a little bit of a difficult one to level. So I'm going to put it at intermediate somewhere in the middle, but some people will be able to do this earlier and some people it will take longer. Now, because we are close to the floor, we are standing, it is probably fairly safe for most people to try this once they're at least out of beginner level. And then it really does, it depends on your strength more than anything. But actually, there's a lot of technique to this one. And you'd be surprised how much good technique can open this up to people who maybe would otherwise not be able to do similar kind of strength tricks. We are going to start off with the first very basic step, which is not going into that flag, it's holding the arm position, and many people at improver level will be able to do that. Things to look out for this one really is the wrist. So the bottom hand on the pole, there is a lot of weight going into this wrist as it's pushed back, and this is where your greatest risk is going to lie in terms of injury. So you need to be incredibly aware of what you're feeling in your body. If you are feeling a lot of pressure in that wrist or you're getting pain, you need to go away and strengthen and come back to it at another time. Okay, it's not worth an injury. So let's talk real basics. Before we start to lift up into various shapes, we just need to be able to hold ourselves with our arms to some degree. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the pole behind my armpit. So essentially if I'm in front of the pole, my arm comes in front of the pole. So the pole goes in the back of the armpit and then my hand comes on. Index finger pointing down the pole and really wedge it in there. You want to keep your feet back, don't be too close to the pole, so stick your bum back and get low to begin with. Generally lower is going to feel, for some people, a little bit easier. Some people might prefer to be high. When we're doing the first step, it probably doesn't matter so much. Once we're starting to lift the legs up, obviously the less height you have to lift the legs up, the easier it's going to be. So having the chest lower can help, okay? So anyways, we get it in the back of the armpit, index finger down the pole, and you're going to actively squeeze that armpit back. Your second arm, this is a challenging one. Index finger down the pole. Put it on low to begin with. And we're going to try to pop the elbow across the body, either into the ribs or into the tummy. I'll show you this from a different angle in a minute. We're going to sink down into it. So the biggest mistake people make with this is they try to lift up. Nope, with your arms and your upper body, even your lower body at this point, we're sinking down. So I'm going to start to bend my knees, sink right into both of my arms, really squeezing this elbow back, and just see if I can even get one foot off or both feet off in that position. So this is very much like various planches that people do in calisthenics and all kinds of hand balancing, all that kind of stuff. Our elbow is going into our side, so it can go into the stomach like here. Mine goes a lot further across here, but if you've got bigger boobs, it's going to be harder to get that arm as much across, okay? So you can put it anywhere, as long as the elbow, and I'm talking about the top part here, not the bottom part here, okay, not on the forearm, on your triceps, okay, up here, in that kind of area. This is where, as long as that is placed somewhere into your stomach or into your tummy, anywhere, okay, it's good enough. And we're trying to think rotating in as much as we can. If the elbow is like this way, it's rotating out, it's not going to support you, it's not going to hold you. So pull the elbow in across the body. Now, some people may have flexibility reasons why they cannot do this. So again, different bodies, different things happen. If that's the case, go do the shoulder course. Go look in the conditioning section, start working on the shoulder course. Get yourself some shoulder mobility. So that elbow just goes where it can with that hand down. So we go into the back of the armpit, index finger on the pole, squeeze the elbow back. And you'll notice my elbow pops up quite a lot. It's not going to stay in like a right angle-y, strong grip like this, probably. It's probably going to pop up. That's okay. Feet back, give yourself some space. Bring the bottom hand on, index finger down the pole, and just pop the elbow into your tummy wherever you can. I get mine right across, but it's fine if it's just sort of on the inside of your hips. Turn your body slightly to the pole helps, so facing the floor in some respects can be harder. Turn the hips just slightly towards the pole, so if you've got your right armpit on, that's opening up your hips to the right, just slightly, it's very subtle. You can see my chest, I'm slightly dropping down versus being here. This is harder, if my chest is like this versus like this. This is harder. And my boobs are pointing down. As if I had lasers coming out of my nipples, they're flying to the floor. Okay, this is harder than turning your chest in, so your lasers are going to the pole. And like I said, sink into it, squeeze back. Push through your bottom arm to a degree, but not so that you're trying to push out of it, just so you're keeping your wrists supported, and then try and take the feet off. Okay, and once you can take the feet off, you've got the upper body element sorted. Now it's to get the lower body sorted. This is the hard bit. This is where the strength really kicks in. We are very much using our obliques on the side of our body to lift our legs up. A lot of people teach us with like a kick or a swing or a jump into it. I don't think that's helpful because when you generate momentum, you need more strength to sustain it. So we're going to do this very, very controlled. So we set it up the same. We get it in the back of our armpit. Index fingers down the pole on both hands. Other hand comes on wherever's comfortable to get your elbow into your tummy. So it might be lower, it might be higher. Okay, whatever works. Get the elbow in. Get your bum back. Start to turn your chest towards the pole even more and sink into your elbows just a little bit. Don't take the feet off the floor yet. Now, whichever armpit is on, that leg is going to come up. And notice how my hips now are sideways. They're not facing the floor. You can do a Western flag with hips facing the floor, but in my opinion, for most people, that's harder. Okay, you may be the exception to that, so try both positions. But in the studio, I find most people find it easier to turn and use their obliques versus using their back muscles. Because using our back muscles in day-to-day life and even in pole, we don't do it a lot, versus our obliques get a little bit more work. Okay, so we set up the arms, feet back, get comfy, open up the hip, bring that leg up as high as you can, squeeze your bum, squeeze your tummy, sink into your arms, and just see if you can pick the second foot up. And it may just look like this to begin with, okay? But we're trying to add more and more control until we can hold that top position. Now, having top leg straight, bottom leg bent is easier in the beginning. So again, I'm here, I set up the arms, back of the armpit, elbows into my tummy, index finger down the pole. I sink into my arms first, open my hips, take my top leg up and back. I'm squeezing my bum. I'm not bringing this leg forward, it goes back. Squeezing my bum, and I'm pulling my hip subtly up towards my armpit. Don't let this happen where you're arching. Pull in. Pick the bottom leg up, and like I said, to begin with, you might kind of just drop, that's okay. As long as you're doing it with control, eventually we'll be here, and then eventually out straight. Okay, whew. I think that's most of what I can give you in terms of technique. The rest is strength training. And actually, I just put up 7 minutes in heaven conditioning. Go check that one out. It'd be bloody great for your Western flag. It's a lot of planks, side planks, a lot of the muscles that we use to hold this kind of a position, we're also using in our 7 minutes in heaven class. And then, yeah, arm strength, we need good push, we need good pull. We're working on that kind of stuff all the time, hopefully, in our strength training. As usual, if you have any questions, let me know. Oh, I will say with this one, everything I say to do on both sides, okay? I told you I do everything on both sides. But this one in particular, I've known students, I had one student who for a whole year, just could not get this one. And then one day she finally did the other side, and I'm sure, I always tell everyone to do both sides, so I'm sure I'd already mentioned this multiple times. And one day she just went, oh, I'll just try my left. And she did it first time, perfectly fine. So it may not be the side that you think it's gonna be. That's part of why we train both sides, that and the muscular balance, okay? So make sure you do this on both sides and figure out which works better for you. Okay, as always, any questions, do let me know. And don't forget to train smarter, not harder.